Welcome to the party. I'm not here right now, but I want you to listen very carefully. These guys are very funny, so pay attention. Enough talk. It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve, my co-host is Pete.
Hello.
This episode we are talking about the 2015 film Dragon Blade. This is part 3 of our Cusack attack.
It is. We did Con Air, we did Grosse Point Blank.
Yes.
And the third film has been chosen by people on social media.
Yes, you, the faithful listeners, have gone on to the Facebook group and voted for this. So we're going to talk about this film and we're going to spoil it completely.
Yes.
So if you have not seen it, pause now.
Go and watch
the film.
It's on Netflix, so it's quite easy to get hold of.
Yes, very easy from Netflix. Otherwise, your local internet provider will have a copy, I'm sure, somewhere via, Amazon or something like that, or even iTunes, maybe.
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 Now, if you do get it from Netflix, you'll be watching the 103-minute-long US subtitled version, not the 127-minute-long Chinese release.
Oh, okay.
So
wow.
24 minutes shorter than the version that was theatrically released, and did very, very well in China.
Yes, we can come on to that. The box office in China was very, very good for them. They liked it a lot.
Now, this very nearly wasn't eligible for the Cusack attack, because his role was originally offered to someone else.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Who was it?
Mel Gibson.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Apparently so. Rumoured to be in talks, apparently, beforehand.
So the weird thing about this film, before we kind of get into it, is that it's basically funded by China and various parts of the government and corporations and businesses and production companies and so on. And yet you've obviously got Jackie Chan, who's a very famous star over there and in the West. But then suddenly you've got John Cusack and you've got Adrien Brody in there.
You do. Reunited. Do you know what other film they were in together?
The Piano?
No, I don't think so. Thin Red Line.
I've not seen that, actually.
Have you not? I'm saying that everyone is in Thin Red Line at some point. It's one of those films like...
Mel Gibson as well, isn't it?
True. Volta, I think. Maybe I don't know. I think pretty much everyone who was acting that year was in it. So
one of the ones I missed. I thought I'll get to it eventually. Still haven't actually get to it.
It's good to see. Anyway, yes. So, Chloe, you were saying?
Yeah, so it's just really, really odd that you've got this incredibly diverse cast where the majority are from the East, and then you've got these two Westerners in there.
Yes.
And they do kind of stick out like a sore thumb.
Well, Chris Tucker was booked. Apparently. They do, but they are, in fairness...
But back in time,
yes,
50 BC.
In fairness, they are playing Romans.
Yes, so it works. I mean, they're not the only Westerners in it, but they're the only ones of
note.
Big note that we could say, oh, look, it's so-and-so. We actually know who they are immediately without any kind of searching through IMDb or you going, look, it's Sven-Ole Thornton, whenever I have no idea who the big bloke is.
I mean, how is it true? It does I did some filming for an electronic press kit for a German TV show that filmed in the UK. All the cast were German apart from John Hannah and Rupert Everett.
Okay.
So I think someone who does it is kind of... I think with this, it didn't do massive business in America, but it did some. And I think maybe it's to give a broader appeal. But again, equally, as there are Romans in this story, which apparently is based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into it. So, as we said, we're going to spoil the film. Yeah. So it's set in 50 BC, apparently, where a Roman legion has vanished, and then it's seen the stories told about it throughout China. And this is what the story focuses on. It says based upon true events.
That's right. And I don't know about you, Steve, but the style of the film was not at the start of any film I've ever seen in my life.
No.
So the pre-titles, I thought I'd accidentally played the trailer. Because it suddenly is kind of slow-mo, kind of montagey, which I've never really seen that before in a film.
No. I think we're going to say this a lot throughout this film. Because it's very much a Chinese film with some Western actors in it. And so there's a lot that maybe it is common there. Maybe the style choices and things are used often. But for me, there's a lot of things I've gone, this seems really odd way of doing it, or really unusual. But equally, they could look at, I don't know, Avengers and go, this is really strange. Why have they done it this way? So I'm trying to be open-minded, but it was peculiar.
I mean, it does remind me of things like Monkey Magic a bit, and also just generally the kind of, and I'd forgotten, I used to watch it's a long time since I did watch a subtitled Kung Fu film, but I used to watch quite a few, and it does have more of that kind of sensibility to it than a Western film. But from reading up on it, I think they did look at this as going, it's a bigger budget than you'd expect out of China. It's much more epic in its scale.
Yes.
And apparently, the kind of script-wise, it stands head and shoulders above a lot of other stuff.
Okay.
So, but we shall see.
So the story kicks off with Jackie Chan, who, it took me half an hour before I realised what his character was called, because they don't tell you.
Huo An. Is it Huo An?
Huo An, yeah. But for the longest time I didn't know. So basically he runs a protection squad for the Silk Road.
Silk Road Protection Squad, that's right.
In an attempt to keep the peace. So you've got this huge empire that spans the Silk Road.
And this big kind of trade route, isn't it?
Yeah, and they say it's something like 60 nations or 60 people, I think they say, working together along the Silk Road, trading and so on. And he's got a group of maybe 8-10 guys that are trying to patrol it and keep the peace and stop the different traders who meet from different nations getting into trouble and fighting and causing another war, which is why they're trying to avoid.
And we meet them for the first time because they turn up to kind of stop two groups fighting, don't they?
Yeah.
So what I've put here is crazy battle, horses, eagle, hand-to-hand combat in the sand. This does not feel like a film from last year.
No. Someone who walked into the room whilst I was watching it and I described the film and then said, this is from last year. Her response was, what? I thought you said it's like from 20 years ago.
I know, again, reading up on it, one of the criticisms has been about the editing, but it's really quickly cut at times and then really strangely slow-mo and montagey at others, and they don't necessarily feel like the right choices, but I think the film settles into its stride later, but not now. The start is just a bit tonally, because it feels like quite a serious film. Again, you've got these big sweeping epics, kind of almost like Gladiator or something, with these horses and stuff riding in, and it is a bit like something like Gladiator or even Game of Thrones, where the kind of two warring parties turn up, but they send their kind of champions to fight alone.
It's like Marco Polo. It's that kind of thing where these two people are fighting the champions. One of them is a woman called Lady Cold Moon.
Yes.
And she's basically kicked the arse of this guy, and they're all cheering on and cheering her. And then Jackie Chan and his protection squad turn up and try and keep the peace. And this is where it goes from sweeping epic to Rush Hour 4. Well,
true. There's a kind of comedy moment, which isn't that, yeah. So she's very good at fighting. He is very good. We know he's very good at fighting, and it's quite a nice little thing, because the running theme is that he wants peace. He'll only fight if he really has to, so he's trying to actually stop her from fighting and trying to break it up. So he's using a lot of evasive moves and kind of trying to push her back off. But then at one point she kind of goes for him and he falls back, she falls forward, he puts his hands up and accidentally grabs her breasts.
Yeah, honestly, it just went at that point. I thought, what?
I thought it was a comedy.
Yes, that's what I thought we were going towards. It was the Rush Hour 4 thing. I thought, okay.
But considering, let's say that I've put here this, she's got a sword, she's got spurs on the boots. The fight is amazing, and that is a running theme in this film, is that whenever two people fight, it is amazing.
And Jackie Chan he's the fight choreographer.
That's right, and the action director, yeah. So a lot of the credit for that goes to him. But, at that point, well, the opening, I guess, I don't think the opening 10 minutes, it's that age-old thing, isn't it? They say 10 minutes into a film, you should know exactly what it's about and who's who and where it's going. Not here. No,
more than 10 minutes, a lot more before I had any clue.
Well, I think so that happens, and then
he goes home.
Well, no, first he goes to the tent and she takes her clothes off.
Well, no, I think he goes to see her to kind of apologise for the fact that he just grabbed her boobs.
Yes.
And she takes her robe off and sort of offers herself to him, and he goes like, oh, no, and covers her up and runs out apologising, and that's it.
I've put here, this is the world's most epic comedy.
Yeah, it is at the moment, with sand and sandals.
And he goes from there to a primary school, and he
goes home.
Yeah, we assume that, I don't know if it is the teacher's his girlfriend.
It's his sister.
It's his sister?
Yeah, I thought it was his girlfriend at first. I thought so. And yet later on you find out it's his sister.
I must have missed that.
So he goes there and he's chatting to his sister, saying he's trying to keep the peace and it's a tough job.
And in a parallel with him, because again the message is kind of everyone should work together. This school is kind of like I don't think it's a secret school, but it's not really allowed. It's all the children from the different tribes are being taught together.
Yes,
which I don't think is supposed to happen.
No, it's frowned on a bit, really.
So this is where the first main plot point happens. Where we find out there's 4 boxes of gold coins that have been brought through the area, and how did they get through customs? Well, they got through customs because the protection squad signed for it.
Yes, his protection squad.
So then they're arrested. This is where it's like, I say, this is a whole film in 10 minutes, really. So they're arrested for smuggling gold and then taken to prison.
Well, it's not really a prison. This is the weird thing. They're sent almost into exile to this city on the edge of nowhere.
It's a bit like the Wall in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's a rotting city that's falling apart, that everybody is there. I don't think they're essentially slaves or prisoners.
Like
they're sent there they're sent there out of the way to not cause any fuss, and yet their job is they've got to rebuild the city. That's what they're there to do and nothing else.
And so they get there, and then they see that the shrine to their original general is there. And then there's construction injuries, because things start falling on people. Yeah. And then Jackie Chan's character tries to help people, because that's in his nature. And because he starts to help people, everyone starts fighting. And it becomes like a Bollywood version of a Western, almost. And then, so that's 10 minutes in.
Yes.
That's a lot of stuff.
Have we had images of the box yet? At this point?
I don't know.
Because until you're about 2/3 of the way in, you don't know what that is. But every now and then there's this image of a box, and then someone opens the box, and you're like, what? And then later on you open the box and you can see something in the box. We're not quite sure what it is. And I'm sure at one point we had a flash early on, and that just there again, it cut to something, cut it back, and I thought, okay, what was that? I have no idea what you've just shown me or why. But it comes back into play later on, which is very odd.
There's a few dream sequences. Not dream sequences, it's kind of like characters look off in the distance and you see what they're thinking, kind of thing.
Like in Scrubs.
Yeah. So the Roman army, or part of it, ride in, led by John Cusack, playing General Lucius. And he's tending to it, but he's a warrior, and he's going to go and get them in this city, which I don't think they realise at this point that the city is this prison city. No. And he's tending to a blind child.
Yeah, who's the most annoying character in the whole film.
That is true.
All the child does the entire film is complain, cry,
or
and
sing.
He's an ugly kid. And when he cries, it makes him look like a even uglier creature.
He's the most. No, I mean, I'm about to say he's the most Roman looking, but as you've just said, he's an ugly creature. That doesn't look well on me, but he does look maybe more Roman than John Cusack and Adrien Brody.
Yeah.
So straight away, because I didn't know what to expect, I thought, these are the Romans. I'm assuming this is a bad guy. Yeah. But he's very optimistic and very gentle with the child, and he sort of says that the guy he's going to fight is a bit of an idiot, so it'll be fine. So they go off into the Wild Geese Gate prison, And I put it's very Game of Thrones at this point. And again, the two sort of generals are sent out to fight. It's just kind of opposite of most wars where they hide at the back. So it's, Lucius versus Huo An.
But that makes no sense, you see, because he's a prisoner, and yet he's sent there, and he kind of takes charge of the prison, even though there's some other people who are actually in charge, and yet they're happy for him to go out in armour and fight the Roman guy for some reason.
I don't know if it's just because he's very good at fighting.
Well, I think it was a convenient plot point, but
it could be that. So he's looking for basically goes in, is there any way that we can not fight? And Lucius says no. Basically. And at this point you go, because I didn't know if it was going to be all subtitles at this point, but then once the Romans are involved, the Romans speak in English, and Jackie Chan and I think one other character speaks in English too.
Yeah, I had to leave subtitles on for the whole of the film.
Yes.
Otherwise, you don't understand what he's saying when he's talking to his own men.
That is true.
Because I thought, they'll switch to English, and I took them off. And then he said something to his men, and I was like, what? So I had to go back and put them back on again.
I'm glad I kept it on, because some of Adrien Brody's lines I couldn't understand.
It's true. It is true.
So he says there's no way not to fight, and so they start fighting each other with swords, and then the Romans start dropping one by one, literally in the background, from exhaustion and I guess the sun and lack of food and water. And then the child falls, and that's when Lucius gets upset, and I guess you see kind of his humanity. And then Huo An says, there's going to be a sandstorm. Do you know what? Let's stop fighting till the sandstorm stops. It's a bit like the Pipes of Peace video with Paul McCartney.
Was there a sandstorm in that?
I don't know. Okay. There was a pipe and there was some peace. And then it's like, then Lucius, then thinking a bit rude, 1 minute you're hitting someone with a sword, the next minute you're asking for food and water and medicine. He's like, can I have food, water, medicine for the child, and a place to think? Anything else while you're here? So they treat the boy with acupuncture, I think.
Yes.
I was waiting for it to be the little cups from the Karate Kid. But,
or leeches.
And I've put here, John Cusack and Jackie Chan look very old in HD.
Oh, this is where we then see the box again.
Do we? Yes, we do. Yes,
Mysterious box, and now we see a hand reaching into the box and pulling out a little container thing.
And I was about to say, it looks like Adrien Brody's hand. I would not recognise Adrien Brody's hand. I think
it did,
because it was attached to his shoulder, which was next to his head. So I got here, odd sweeping shots and edits, so it does get very epic. But at quiet moments, is a bit odd, like sat on a wall. It's a bit weird. Like the big kind of, there's aerial shots of kind of horses coming in from
fighting,
which I understand why they're big sweeping slow motion shots, but I'm not sure when somebody's sat on a wall having a think. But never mind. So we see Adrien Brody in flashback. It's a bit like Romeo and Juliet, because these Romans wear blue and our Romans wear red.
Right.
Which I don't know if they did have different coloured groups, but it makes it a lot easier to tell who's who, which is very good.
It does, yes. And we learned that Adrien Brody's character, I've forgotten his name, hang on. Tiberius.
Tiberius, yes.
Blinded the child for some reason, but we don't know why at this point. He put something out of the box. He opened the box, he took the thing out with a pipette and put this liquid in the eyes of the child, who was ugly, and then he screamed and became even more ugly because he was blinded. Yeah,
and what did I put here? So we've seen Adrien Brody in flashback, that's happened. Lucius and Huo An bond in a very obvious set. They say, it's a big sweeping place. Oh, no, we're in a little set. And again, it's a little bit hackneyed. We're all about helping and peace, but you Romans are all about killing.
Yeah.
Lucius all about, I want revenge. And then the Wild Geese Gate men are ordered to finish the city within 15 days.
Yes.
Or they'll be executed. And this is when the film turns into Extreme Makeover Home Edition.
Plus Step Up.
Yes. Because it's a very long... What I really like my dad is a draftsman, so he does architectural plans.
Right.
He would love this bit, because it's like architectural plan, person building, architectural plan, person building. And the good thing is they're building from the plan. It's also a bit like the A-Team kind of montage. It goes on for a long time.
It does, yeah. So, due to the genius of Roman ingenuity, pissing all over any creativity or, architecture in the East, they can't do anything. They haven't, they built a wall that runs for hundreds of miles or anything like that. No, none of their ancient temples. Romans, though, they're great. They know how to build a city in 5 minutes.
It's the combination of the two.
Yeah, sure.
When you put the together, it's even better. So but they do a deal at this point. So it's there's no such thing as a selfless good deed. No. So Lucius is kind of saying, yeah, we'll help you build it. Yeah, no problem. However, in order to do this, you need to give me 5 men to guide some of my guys to go to is it the Parthian Empire?
Parthian
Empire. So they're off to do that, which I forgot about until the end of the film.
Yeah.
They don't get mentioned again. But so they've gone with them. So again, I thought it was also the fact that there was a common language I found a bit surprising. They could speak to each other.
It is odd. So yeah, then they have this rebuilding of the city by building giant cranes with levers and Romans full of, giant blocks full of stones that they haul into place and then cover with plaster to rebuild the city. It's very, very, as you said,
it's a bit. It feels like a throwback to not Seven Brides, Seven Brothers, but almost like old Hollywood films, really old Hollywood films of kind of all pulling together and stuff.
Like a barn raising scene.
It is. It is. So
about the Irish community.
Do you remember Lucius takes I've just put blind boy, can't call him that, up to the top of the building that they're building, I think.
On the wall, on the wall of the city.
Starts to describe the Silk Road to him. That was an odd moment. I've put here, Cusack is the most unlikely Roman officer ever. It's just, it doesn't really fit.
No, no. But then the kids, like you say, describe it to me. Yeah. So he does. And then he says, I want to feel the wall. And he puts his hands on the wall. And then the kid suddenly becomes some kind of bloody seer because he goes, I can see it. I'm like, wait, so you got magic powers now. Wow, okay. And I can see it stretching for thousands of miles and blah, blah, blah. That kid's a terrible actor. I mean, we know that children could be great actors. Just look at Stranger Things.
True.
This kid is ugly and he's a terrible actor.
I think, in fairness, if anyone listens back to the whole of our back catalogue, available now, there's been a running theme of maybe it's action movies, bad child actors.
True.
Have been,
terrible.
Yeah. So this next sequence, I'm going to guess that this is one of my favourite bits of the film, and I'm going to guess that maybe it's one of your least favourite bits of the film.
Please describe it, Peter, for the listener. Have a break.
Let's just say I had a text from Steve. Watched this film a night before me that just said dance off. So it's not a dance off. It's a martial arts off, which is not the same thing. They're doing kind of training. The protection squad are starting to do some training, and they start to they do, in fairness, get into a formation, like a square dance, and they show off what they can do, and then the Romans show off what they can do, and I think it's brilliant, because they've got these swords on ropes, and it's bags of action after all, and they throw the swords, and then they pull them back on the ropes. That's impressive. And then the Romans respond with some drumming, which is not as impressive. I think, give me long enough, I could learn to play a drum. Yep. Give me long enough, I could not learn to throw around a sword on a rope. Not safely, anyway. And then there's a stick fighting display. Then the Romans show you that they've got armour and shields. And then they form a circle for some, one-on-one fights. And it's really good. The fighting's amazing. Do you not think?
I think at this point, I lost the will to live whilst watching this.
Well, I've put here, there's a cheesy optimism here, which makes it feel like a musical. This kind of over-sincerity usually does not work on us Brits.
And what did you say to me in the text when you got to this point in the film?
It felt a bit like Les Mis. That's okay. That's later. That's a bit later. That's actually when they do.
Oh, okay. But it felt like Step Up to the Streets at this point. It really did. Or Step Up to, or whatever, that kind of thing where, look, I can do this with a sword. Ooh, well, I can do this with my shield. And then they do the bit, and it's just... It's like that awful one-upmanship thing that's just so hokey and shit.
This is how men do manual labour bond.
If I go to a building site, right, I do not see a bloke swinging on a giant ball, demolition ball, and then some other bloke juggling bricks, and then some other bloke, balancing on a cement mixer and trying to up each other.
There's two armies, but you must admit the one-on-one fights are amazing here.
Right up to the point where the bloke laughs and gives him back his sword. And goes, that was amazing!
Yeah, because they're bonding, they're friends.
It's awful. There's so much cheese, I could smell it coming out the screen.
I don't mind a little bit of cheese as long as it's served on the right kind of bread, and I like this bread.
You like the bread?
I like this bread. So, this is the bit I found cheesy. If I like a textiles class, they then decide to design a joint flag.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they haven't known each other long.
No.
And, but they did have a little bit of fisticuffs. And then, yes, there's a joint flag that they raise. And
the art class, they then have...
They did it.
Art, just, kids, let's see what's on the wall. And they just all start creating their own flags for some reason.
It's like...
It's just... like finger painting as well at some point. And I was waiting for someone to stick their arse in a bucket of paint and then just sit on that and put it on a flag and go, there you go, there's my one, job done. It was terrible. But it's the worst bit. Just when they've finished it, they then celebrate with skipping, jumping, laughing, and almost like square dancing with each other.
I suppose they have a big festival with music and food ready to launch the flag.
Because they finished doing the city time.
But I think that would work. I think that works. The time, I think when it was. There was nothing on telly.
And then it goes into the Voice kind of X Factor, Britain's Got Talent shit.
I mean, Huo An and his group, they remind me of a Mongolian folk band that I really like. That's not a phrase you get to hear very often.
Tell me, what is your Mongolian
They're called Hangai. Search them out, they're very good. But they look and dress very similar to them. But they just... I've put the boy band want to sing. I meant the blind boy wants to sing. So they do this song, and then the boy says he wants to sing, and I'm assuming it's an anthem, that they're both doing their anthems.
Yes, so the creepy kind of Chucky kid gets up on the back of the wagon. At this point, I've written, creepy Chucky kid sings with Romans.
I've written, I bet Steve doesn't like this film as much as me.
So he gets up on the back of the wagon and decides to sing, and it's like the Roman national anthem.
And they all grab their kind of breastplate.
Put a fist on their chest, and they all, it's almost as if they're saluting the flag. And,
awesome.
And start crying and whilst singing, and they all know the words, even John Cusack. And it is a totally unrelated thing, but kind of interesting. You know how they put their hand over their fist over their heart?
Yeah.
Americans do that when they sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
Do you know what they used to do before the Second World War when they were singing the national anthem?
No.
They had one arm held out straight, slightly raised with an open palm.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think Donald Trump's trying to bring that back.
And then after the Second World War, it was changed.
Yeah.
Your hand over your heart instead.
I think that's a good idea.
I wonder why. Anyway, so they sing with their hand over their heart, and...
Well, and I've put here... What have I put here? I've put, is John Cusack sleepwalking?
Well...
Or is he just... Because he does tend to play kind of laconic roles.
Yes.
And I couldn't work out if he was just not that into it, or if that was just his character.
I think what he was actually doing was thinking about everything he could spend the money on that they've given him for this film. And he's just counting it in his head. So it looks like he's thoughtful in the role and thinking deep thoughts. When in actual fact he's thinking, that'll pay my mortgage for 6 months. I can get the car serviced. I can put my youngest in college for about 6 months. Yeah, the wife will stop nagging me because I can finally put on the house. The dog needs his flea treatment. Yeah. Oh, it was my turn. That's right. That's what he's doing.
The good thing about being friends with Steve is that I'm often described as impatient and cynical. But when I spend time with Steve, I don't feel as impatient and I don't feel as cynical.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But I mean, this is the point, as I say, when I wasn't sure. whether his heart was in it.
Oh, no.
So I looked up kind of things about it, and people have basically said this means that him and Adrien Brody are like both becoming like Nicolas Cage, because they're in these kind of random films. And this is unfortunately, unless you're in a big superhero film, there aren't that many parts really, apart from in really small films. So I play, many of the stars that we loved, they're not really being cast in mainstream films.
No, but we said that he's done something like 14 films in 4 years.
That is true.
This was one of them.
Not as many as Eric. Eric Roberts is averaging, I think, something like 30 films a year.
No.
It's crazy. You look on IMDb, there's someone on Twitter that I think is just charting all of his films. He's like, I think he's in everything. He's in pretty much everything.
Wow.
So, and then you always talk to me about Basil Exposition. The next sequence is the biggest exposition dump I think I've ever seen in a film.
Yes, go on.
They just both do it. It's almost like, hello, right, the festival.
Character building
There's
moment.
a break in the festival. We've done our anthems, I've had a bit of booze. So, tell you what, I'll tell you my backstory, and then we'll pause, and then if you could do me a favour, could you tell me your backstory as well? That would be really good, because then we've just saved ourselves. This bit, it'll be 20 minutes long in the Chinese cut, but we'll just do it really quickly for the Americans.
Yeah,
so they literally just sit down and tell each other. I mean, I guess I've been too cruel. From a narrative perspective, they've become friends. They've started to bond. They've built a city. They've made a flag. So so Lucius starts telling him about how the boy was blinded by his brother. It's Tiberius' brother, isn't it?
He's his older brother, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So I think the boy was going to be made emperor. I think this is right.
Yes,
so Tiberius.
That's right.
Yeah, blinded him. And so Lucius and his men tried to stop this happening, which is why they're on the run as fugitives. He's a man without a country marked for death, I believe he says.
Mm-hmm.
So Brody's character is called Tiberius, which I think is the first time we mention his name.
Yes.
And they're going to the Parthian Empire to restore the peace treaty, which Tiberius is flaunting. I'm not quite sure how he's flaunting it.
Yeah.
So then it's just like, oh, hang on, tag my backstory, and then Huo An gives his family died, he said including his sister.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because he puts his hand over his sister's mouth and stops her.
And then she died. I think
screaming, and she died.
Did he literally cover her mouth sort of screaming by doing that suffocator?
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised he can sleep. So he
professional character. He should be asleep.
He was saved by the general, who then raises him to understand peace and also make him a very good fighter. And then they literally look at each other and go, "We are the same."
Yes,
because
we are the same.
I know we've just built this city, but let me just hammer home this point as well. And then the man who went to go off to the Parthian Empire has returned. And they basically show us that the 5 Chinese men that went with him have all been killed. By
Tiberius, who's chopped off their head.
Yep.
And the guy comes back and has basically said, Tiberius is coming.
100,000 men to take over Silk Road and then the whole of China.
Yes, so you're all in trouble.
Yep.
Oh dear. So then this is what I don't then get completely. Jackie Chan says, I've got a mate who's got some soldiers.
Yep.
I'm going to go and get them for you. But first, the creepy kid makes Huo An, gives him a commission and makes him a Roman legionnaire. So he gives him a little tiny sword. So I don't quite understand how Jackie's mates, who's got some men, are going to help them with the Romans. But he's convinced that's a great plan. So he leaves the city to do that, doesn't he?
I'm not even sure who he was going to get, unless he was going to get Moon's people.
I don't know, because he said his mate Poe somebody, but then Poe turns out to be the traitor. So
yeah,
I don't really get that.
I don't know. I wonder if there's some of the protection squad, but there's a bigger force behind them. I'm not sure. I'll have to watch it. I'll have to watch it again.
Anyway. So whilst he's doing that, he nips home.
Yes.
To see his wife /
sister / primary school teacher.
Friend, yes, who's teaching the children. And right at that particular moment, the soldiers turn up to arrest her for being... I'm sure they say for being his sister.
I think all traitors and must die, including children.
Right, okay.
So... I think that they're seen as traitors because they're working with all the different
tribes.
Well, that's kind of, yeah. So he's back there from the side. The moon lady turns up then.
Lady Cold Moon, yes, turns up with a bunch of Mongols to help him and the school teacher and all the kids get away. And this is quite a good action scene. There's some great bits where lots of fighting and archery.
Really good archery.
Cracking bit where she's... basically got them pinned in a building.
And she also says, they say, how do you know him? And she's like, I'm his wife.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that grabbing breasts, someone stripping off, and then you kind of running away is considered marriage.
I think it's because technically he defeated her.
Okay.
And therefore technically that made her his wife.
Okay.
And when she took her kit off, that was, like the wedding night, but he legged it. So... I'm guessing, but that's about as far as I can gather from the detailed plot of this film.
He rescues the kid. They take the kids up to the second floor, then they slide them down on big silk blue...
Yeah, he creates like a silk slide. It's quite fun. While Lady Coldman keeps them back with archery.
And the rest of her people turn up. I think her brother is called Sun. He turns up.
Mm-hmm.
But then this teacher girlfriend I've put here is hit by an arrow. But while protecting the children, isn't she?
Yeah, she's got like 2 in the back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's really not good. And he's trying to protect her, but he's failed.
I quite like this because earlier, I don't think we really said it, he asks... no, the other way around, sorry. Lucius asked him what the word for revenge is.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't quite understand what he meant by revenge, and he's almost like, I'm about peace, I'd never go after revenge. Yeah. But actually, from now on... it kind of is about that. So as soon as he sees that she's been hurt, he starts throwing hot ash at people.
Yes.
He hadn't done before.
No, he's flinging it up at at the Chinese soldiers that are coming after him.
Yeah. And
he helps him and Lady Coldmoon and some of the Mongols escape, and all the children escape. And we never see the children again, do we?
No.
The rest of the film.
No.
They just disappear somewhere.
Don't know where. So,
anyway.
Huo An walks out carrying the body of his girlfriend's sister. And then it cuts to Lucius, who's like, there's other soldiers have turned up, and he's like, where's Huo An? Where is he? Expecting him. But then they say, you expect them to be killed, but it's like, all the Romans must be taken alive.
Yeah. And it's kind of Cusack's last stand.
Yeah, and the boy's asking him to leave me behind. They fight. Lucius tries to fight, but he's outnumbered. He's hit with a crossbow.
He's shot like 3 times.
Yeah,
and I put the kid cries a lot.
I put boy over dramatically crying. Although, in fairness, the person who's looking after you has been shot 3 times with the crossbow and beaten to the ground.
And cut a few times with a sword. And then Tiberius turns up.
But then Huo An buries the lady in the sand and doesn't think about her again until the very end of the film. That's the thing. I mean, you can probably guess where this is going, but his whole revenge thing, which is very Gladiator, is much more about Lucius than it is about her, which I find a bit weird.
Yeah.
Odd way round, really.
But
yeah, so Tiberius turns up, and they pretty much put Lucius on a crucifix.
Yes, he's chained to it, and he's obviously still bleeding, and they've taken the bolts out of him, which is nice, but he's covered in blood. And I thought he was dead, but he's sort of there, chained up. Now, this is actually the worst scene in the film.
Gosh.
I've written worst dialogue ever.
Ooh.
It's Brody versus Cusack. Some of the stuff they're saying
I don't even know.
Awful.
It's just what they're saying, because I've put here, Brody is playing it like he's an Englishman.
Yeah.
And trying to be Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator. And he's chewing up the scenery big time, and he's an all-out villain.
Mm-hmm. Cusack's doing his mortgage calculations again, whilst Brody acts his face off. And you can see him just tossing up figures and working stuff out. And it's just like he's biding his time. It's just so painful. And the dialogue is atrocious. Atrocious.
I can't even remember.
Because Brody's giving this big speech about I was going to do this and blah, 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 blah. And then Cusack just keeps saying, spare the boy.
Yeah.
Spare the boy. And then Brody's like, no, blah, blah, blah. And he waffles on again. And it goes back to Cusack and he goes, spare the boy. And it's just like a broken record.
And Tiberius is kind of saying that, I'm here to take the Silk Road for Rome. Therefore, if you don't help me, you're not a Roman, essentially.
Yeah.
But then Falco, who I didn't know was called Falco until this point.
True.
One of the...
It's like the boy's caretaker.
I think so. He's a lover, not a fighter. He grabs the boy, and just to make things better, he jumps off the side to spare him any pain, which I guess is probably a good move, because they're probably going to kill him in quite a horrible way.
Yeah, so he just topples backwards off it's almost like they make him walk. They make him walk the plank, really. Yeah,
but then Tiberius is like, right, now my brother's dead, let's get on with this. It's like, even if you're the evilest kind of sociopath, whatever, your brother has just died. And and then Lucius spits in his face, as you do. I don't remember, I think I was so taken aback by Brody's acting, I didn't necessarily take as much note of the actual dialogue. So whether the dialogue he had to work with wasn't great, so he was struggling, or he was just, I don't know.
I think it was badly written, and if it was a predominantly Chinese cast and Chinese writer trying to make something sound really good in English, if that's not your first language,
maybe.
So I think he just did the best he could with what he was given.
I think we find out at this point that all the 36 nations of the Silk Road have all given in for the gold, because basically they've been given some gold, apart from Moon's group, who I think they're Mongols.
Mongols, yes.
Yeah. So and then they start talking to the other groups from Wild Geese about, come on, let's all get together. And they're like, we built a building, we can't necessarily fight, and our family's going to get killed. We're not really sure if we want to do this.
There's a whole speech about the city, and they're using it as like a child metaphor. Jackie Chan.
Oh, yes, he does.
It's really painful.
Little baby.
We all build this city like it's a child, and I want to see the child grow up, and I want to see the child go to college and get a good education. I want to see the child get a good job and maybe marry and settle. And it goes on forever. And he's like, and maybe he'll grow up and he'll get a good job and move to the city and then have 2 children and a dog and a cat. And then in a few years' time, maybe move back out into the countryside and have another child. And it's like, oh my gosh, just stop with the child metaphor.
But he's like,
stop it.
Yeah.
Awful. But then we get Yin Po.
Yes, because Huo An is taken in shackles.
Yes, taken prison by Tiberius.
Yeah. And he's like, if you pledge allegiance to me, you can live. The big mistake I think that Tiberius makes in the rest of this film is letting people live constantly.
Yeah.
Because they're not as big an adversary dead, I find. So yes, Yin Po is on his way with 10,000 soldiers to help the Romans.
Yes, that's what he says. And
he'll be made a chief for his trouble. And that's when you find out he can speak English too. So then this is a bit kind of Keystone Cops. All of the people trapped in a cage, which is like all the protection squad, they push and push and push until it topples over and they can get out.
Oh, you missed the fight. They missed the fight with Yin Po and Tiberius. That's first.
Is it first?
Yeah, because Huo An says, Yin Po's not coming to help you. He's coming to help me. Ha 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 ha. He's double-tricked you. He's double-crossed you. And Tiberius blatantly falls for it, sees all the soldiers, sees them holding their weapons and thinks that Yin Po is trying to double-cross him. So
well,
then
he turns him against another guy, doesn't he? He said, if you kill Yin Po, you can have his job.
Yeah.
But then he kills the other guy. The other thing is, if you notice, every time they show Tiberius killing anyone, he always stabs him in the back.
Yes. So he has a big one-on-one fight with Yin Po, and it's pretty gory.
Yeah.
It's pretty nasty, and he just chops him up, basically.
Yeah.
And kills him. But yes, then you've got Huo An gets imprisoned with the Romans in the cage.
So they're in the cage, they tip the cage so it falls over, and they throw the keys to the Romans in the other one. Again, this all feels like something from a very old film. And then, they break from prison, they find Lucius, who is in a right old state.
Yeah, I thought he was dead, but he's still alive.
He's
Still alive.
choking on his own blood. And
he's blind.
Yes.
They blind him for some reason.
That's true.
Yeah. So, blind John Cusack makes a final speech about friends.
He does. He says, yes, the city is about friendship. So in a way, they've swapped places, because Huo An is kind of after revenge, and it's Lucius that's talking about their bond between them. But he trusts his troops to Huo An. It's like, you were made a legion there, and now you can lead my men. They will,
yes.
And I've put here, it's a bit like Guardians of the Galaxy, because people just keep sacrificing themselves for each other. It comes a lot. So he kind of wants him to be killed. So he takes the crossbow and shoots his friend to take him home.
Well, someone sees they're trying to break him out. They tip fire everywhere, and John Cusack is blind, chained to a cross, and now he's burning to death. So Huo An shoots him with a crossbow in his throat to stop him burning to death painfully. But yes, and says, "You're going home." Yes,
it got me. It got me. I've got a heart. It got me.
So then Jackie's in charge of the Romans.
Blue Romans fighting the Red Romans, and Blue Romans are winning. By the look of it, quite easily at this point. They are battering the hell out of them. And then what they'd come up with is a cunning plan, which they've stolen from the siege of the Goblin City at the end of Labyrinth.
But they also stole from an earlier scene where we saw that.
That's foreshadowing.
Oh,
you
see?
What it is? Yes, they grabbed it.
Badly done.
Do you remember how we built this city?
We built this city. We built this city with dance and song, not rock and roll.
So remember how we moved the stones? They're really heavy, so we put them on the shields and we pushed them along.
Like sleds.
But
wow!
It does remind me of the end of Labyrinth. I'm going to keep going with that because they're fighting people with shields, and the rocks come to life.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yeah. Yeah, but in this they throw rocks at the Romans because they haven't got enough weapons and they're not working.
But they start to level it. And then loads of eagles come.
Eagle attack, I've written.
There's an awful lot of eagles. Now, at the start of the film, the one eagle I could buy. Here,
it's like Lord of the Rings,
there's an awful lot of eagles.
It is, it's like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and Moon and her people riding from the hillsides, very epic.
Not moving anybody.
No, not this time. She did at the start. Maybe that's where she got the name.
Lady Cold Moon. Makes sense now.
That's why he put the fire next to her. Oh, Lady Cold Moon. My apologies. And then all the other groups from the prison who all said they were going home, they all start to come over the hill as well, which I quite liked. But my only thing really, and again, this is kind of Writer 101, I suppose, is that none of the main characters have made this happen. Mm-hmm. It's happened. It's just they've turned up.
Yeah, Rat and some of the others who've got the gold say, "What am I going to spend it on?" Oh, I'm thinking, John Cusack's thinking of his mortgage. You can maybe get a new house. But they are like, "No, what am I going to spend it on?" So they all decide to go back anyway, and that's when suddenly all of the nations that were previously with Tiberius changed their minds.
Yeah. So I put here full-scale war, Game of Thrones, and it makes me want a horse.
We want a horse.
Yeah.
You want to go horse riding?
I want to go horse riding, yeah. I don't want to necessarily fight a brutal battle on a horse, but just maybe up and down with a lead rope would be fine.
Okay.
Just to start off.
Start you off slow, yeah.
Or maybe the one I just go to the fair.
Okay, yeah. On the carousel, you mean?
Fine. Yeah, it'd be fine.
Okay.
In Roman clothes. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Go to the
That's
fair.
your Christmas card picture right there.
In Roman.
You in a Roman toga with the helmet on, carrying a spear on a carousel at Christmas.
Yep.
That's what I want to see on my Christmas card this year.
Quoting lines from this film.
Yes.
So, again, in the middle of a big battle, you do sometimes go to kind of a cutting between scenes, but here, it's a bit like the start. It suddenly goes really slow, like montagey, and it feels a bit like a Mariah Carey video.
Mariah Carey?
I don't know, just the feel of it. I know.
Okay.
Not the Romans killing each other.
Big fan of Mariah Carey?
You know.
How many albums you got of hers? Come on, be honest.
Only a few. So I put the Roman siege on top, the blue Romans, of course. They're pretty ruthless. Again, I think deliberately, they're ruthless. There's no dignity or honour. They stab people. And here come the Parthians, again. But nobody made them arrive.
No.
Again, that's another one of those kind of, it's just... And maybe it's because it's a true story, but it's like, oh yeah, they come. I don't know if someone texts them, maybe. But it's just...
This mysterious lady turns up with them who seems to have some kind of authority. Don't really know who she is. Never seen her before. She speaks and Tiberius is like, no, it's lies. I'm thinking, well, who is she?
Well, she basically says, there was a peace treaty, actually, and it hasn't been ended. This guy is killed his father. He's now killed his brother. The peace treaty still stands. He's playing you all, basically. And then his number 2... older man with a beard who's very
beardy man,
very Game of Thrones looking. Yeah. What does he do?
He basically says, it's you can stop this, and you can still maintain your honor, and blah blah blah.
It's not too late, Tiberius. It's not too late. Like that.
Yes,
maybe.
and Tiberius has basically been outed in public as a traitor.
And he's like, I need to do something predictable. What can I do? I know.
Stab my own man.
Give me your hand. Give me your hand. You're right. No, you're not. In the stomach. But at least he stabbed him in the stomach, not his back. I suppose, again, up to now, he's been secretly stabbing people in the back, and now he's got him in front of everyone stabbing someone in the front.
This is the line. I've written it down, what Tiberius then says. This is how bad the dialogue is, okay? Right. I did it. Let's resolve this! That's what he says, word for word. Right, I did it. Let's resolve this.
Cuts to the chase.
So then we get Huo An versus Tiberius.
Hobbling.
Huo An's already wounded badly and the mess.
I think there's one of those things, and I know he's wounded badly, that we didn't really see. But it's that thing maybe because we know the people too well. It's like, it happens a lot in action films, doesn't it? You get the action star versus the actor.
Yes.
And it's like, well, Adrien Brody, it's not good, you may be able to play the piano very well, but you're not going to beat Jackie Chan.
No.
So, and he's like, you can't challenge me to a duel. We can't have hand-to-hand combat. We're not going to do this. You can't challenge me. You're not a Roman. But he is.
But he's made a legionnaire by a creepy child, Chucky child.
So even though this guy is a sociopath and will happily blind his brother and let him be thrown off of a thing, he will stick to the rules when it comes to dueling.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But my thing is, did he really think he's just going to get away with it? Like, even if he beat Jackie Chan, he'd be like, right, that's it then. I'm off. I thought everything's good. Still, thanks a lot. Bye.
So, I got the big sword fight.
It's a good fight. It is
a good fight, but Lucius seems to be winning. Tiberius, and he takes his sword, but again, honourable thing, he hands it back. Which, again, obviously, what I kind of like, what I quite like about it is he doesn't cheat. Most films, Hollywood films, the bad guy in a situation that's one-on-one will cheat.
Throw sand in his
eyes. They'll have an extra person helping them. They'll have a sword hidden down their pants, or something.
Yep.
So all the way through but he never finishes him. He has about 3 opportunities to finish him, which I find a bit weird. My accent went really strong then. Sorry.
Yeah. Good.
Can we edit in a weird rather than weird?
For those who don't know, Pete is from Wales. Can you tell?
I'm not originally. I'm from the West Country, which is what that was.
Okay.
But yes.
Lovely.
They should have dubbed this. I could have dubbed this for them. They didn't need to put subtitles on. Yeah, I did it. It was me. Yeah.
Hello there.
I did it. Let's sort this out, me old Baba. So, yes.
Me old what?
Baba. It's a Bristolian phrase. I'm not from Bristol, but it's me old Baba.
I've never heard that before.
Okay. Well, you can have that for free.
I've not lived.
Okay. This is not the film I expected that to come up in. So Tiberius is he can barely stand. He's taken a massive beating.
Huo An's in trouble.
Starts trying to strangle him. And I didn't realise, and they didn't make it that clear, but he's Huo An is wearing Lucius's headband.
Yes.
As a show of something.
Solidarity or something, or Romanness.
Again, he's frozen to the ground and doesn't finish him a few times. The crowd are cheering for Huo An.
Yes.
but he still doesn't finish him.
No.
And then he's got his sword to his head, kind of ready to kill him.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Huo An has a flashback in his head. He sees first his Roman friend, and then he sees his sister, girlfriend, we won't ask, afterwards. And it's like, I think he's got his priorities wrong there, somewhat.
Maybe.
And then
he grabs the headband which has been taken off him.
That's right. He starts fighting back, and then the blue meanies won't help anymore, so they back off, don't they? So they won't help him anymore.
Well, it's kind of weird, because Huo An hits him in the neck with his headband and opens his throat.
Yes, yeah.
And then he's stumbling around, and then the blues won't help Tiberius anymore, and he's basically bleeding to death already from his neck.
Yep.
And then I think he just kind of leaves him, and then he falls over, and then he starts singing his song, his national anthem.
Because he's dying, they all start singing. Yeah, he starts singing the Roman song, which much like World in Union. Yep. And then they start flashing back to them singing it. Oh no, that's not yet actually.
No, is it not?
Not yet. It's part of the kind of prologue, not prologue.
Oh, okay.
Whatever, postlogue.
Yeah.
Whatever. Epilogue. Post.
There you are.
Postlogue is something very bad you do to people you don't like.
Moving on. So then Tiberius dies whilst singing his song of home and snuffs it in the sand. And that's it.
And that's it. And then they give you, a bit like at the start, they tell you the history of it. Here they kind of tell you that the city was built in honour. The Romans were brave. Their royalty was killed. So they built a new city in honour of this kinship. And it turns foes into friends.
Yes.
And a new corps was created to protect the region from all of those at Wild Geese Gate. And then they have a flashback to the singing and the flag raising, and you get to see John Cusack's face when he was alive.
Yeah, with his great eye makeup on. Have you noticed he's had mascara on the whole film?
That's what he spent the money on.
I think it's to keep him awake.
And then Huo An rides off, leading them all into the sunset on a horse.
Yeah. And that's it.
That is it.
So I've got lots of questions, but one important question up front, okay? Why in the Blue Christ is the film called Dragon Blade?
I don't know.
Was it called something different in China?
Let me have a look. Dragon.
I have no idea why. Having watched the whole film, there's nothing to do with the special sword that I can see. But hang on, it says Dragon Blade: The Legend of Lang is what the Wikipedia page says. But I don't know what that...
See, it says the original title, I can't say. I don't know what the direct translation is of that. But it says Dragon Blade, also known as Dragon Blade, which is not...
So I don't know, maybe it means something else in Chinese, but I don't know what it means. So hang on. But the literal translation...
Okay, have you got that?
...is Celestial General Heroic Army.
That's better.
But they just changed it completely for English and called it Dragon Blade. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it in Mandarin or Cantonese, the literal translation is Celestial General Heroic Army. There you go. So I think they just picked something out of a hat, by the sound of it, to call it Dragon Blade.
Two words in a hat. Dragon Blade. Excellent.
That'll do. Yeah. Okay, so... yes, the title is odd. The title is very, very odd.
Yes.
The budget was $65 million.
Yep.
The box office was $121 million, with 99% of the sales coming from China.
And $72,000 coming from America.
Yeah. And it was, of course, written and directed by Daniel Lee. So, your general thoughts on the film?
Is that what it was originally called?
Quite possibly.
I liked it. Big pause.
Okay.
I did. I genuinely liked it. I thought from you texting me in advance, I was thinking this is going to be the longest hour and 50 minutes, or 2 hours, whatever, of my life. But I thought it was all right, because I'm trying to compare it to other things, and there are some hokey moments, that is not without doubt. However, the fight scenes are all very good, including the bit you didn't like with the kind of standoff thing. Off. Whatever you think of it, it's not a dance-off. It's still very well done. I mean, some of the younger cast seem to do some more of the fighting, which makes sense. But I thought the fighting was really good. The epicness of the battles and all the horses was really good. I know it was cheesy, and I know it was a bit overly sincere, but you did have people to empathise with. You did have somebody to root for, which you can't say about all films these days.
No.
So there was a reason. It was very different from anything I've seen before.
In a good way or not?
I think so. It just surprised me. I wasn't bored. I was never bored.
Right.
That's for certain. Kind of... Yeah, from what you said, I was expecting to really hate it. But I thought it was a good film.
You're a funny guy. Shut up, you idiot. It's time to give a score. Do it. Do it now.
Shall we do scores?
Well, what do you think first? Or does that become very obvious?
That'll become very obvious when we do the score.
All right, fine. Do you think you should go first on that basis?
No, I think you should go first and stay positive.
I think
say what else you liked about the film. Go on.
There's archery in there, really good archery. I'm going to probably do the opposite of what I usually do, because usually I base it less on the action, but I think the amount of action in this film, the way it's done, the fight choreography, etc., I'm going to give it a 3-bag score.
Wow. Okay, so positives first. I'll go with the positive first. The scope of the film was amazing. There's a lot going on in there. The cinematography is amazing. They shot it they didn't shoot it on a studio, you can tell. It was shot out in like not the Gobi Desert, but somewhere in proper deserts, and so the scenery was amazing. The costumes were fantastic. Incredibly diverse cast of all of the different clans they keep talking about, the 36 sort of nations and things. So visually the film is amazing. It just looks remarkable. Jackie Chan was great, apart from the odd comedy slip where, what was mostly trying to be a serious and heartfelt film. I think the odd note here and there was off, but he was great. I think Adrien Brody and John Cusack were atrocious. I think they were thinking about the money. I think the dialogue probably didn't help because it probably wasn't done by a native English speaker. So they just had to work with whatever they were given. And I think they were just doing the best they could with the material that they had. The weird cuts at the beginning were distracting. Like you said, 10 minutes in, I had no idea what the film was about. Half an hour in, I was starting to work it out. And then it just went off and did all sorts of weird things. Some good fight scenes, but, oh God, the child actor, horrific. Probably one of the worst things in it.
Judging from IMDb, you're not the only person that thought that, by the way.
Yeah, that does not surprise me. I'm struggling to stay positive. I think the film was an enormous struggle for me to get through it, from the dance-off to the singing to the cheese that came out the screen several times, that it was, making my eyes water for the wrong reasons. I laughed several times when I wasn't supposed to be laughing. To the flag arts and crafts scene, it was a mess. The film was just such a huge... It's like they got lots of ideas and just threw them all against the wall, and a bunch stuck, and that's what they went with. I don't even think you could recut the film and make it any better. I think you'd have to cut out John Cusack's character and Adrien Brody to do it, and then you wouldn't really have much of a film. But awful film. Just terrible. The only reason... I'm going to give it 1 bag. And the only reason I'm giving you that 1 bag is for the fight scenes and the costume and the rest of it. Otherwise, I'd give it no bags.
I might watch it again.
To tell I enjoyed it. Well, okay, you watch it again and make a note of all of the dialogue. People have said Adrien Brody was going the way of Nicolas Cage, as you said, and it really does feel like that.
Someone on IMDb does say that he's unwatchable, which
it's kind of terrible. Right, I did it. Let's resolve this! And worse. And worse from the... Let me tell you my backstory. Once I was a boy and I was hoping, given that everybody had voted for it, and it looked really different to the normal John Cusack films that we had, available from like the Numbers Station or some of the other ones, like Tiddlywinks, The Revenge, or whatever it's called. It's some of the many films he'd made in the last few years, that I thought, this looks different and epic and interesting, and I can't stress. I know people are going, oh, it's so bad, I'll watch it. It'll be brilliant. Don't. It's so bad, it's not worth what. It's 2 hours of your life afterwards. You'll be like, I wish I'd not watched this film.
Do bear in mind there are two people on this show with differing opinions. So
true. You
may, if you're a Steve,
if you're a Camp Steve,
then don't watch it. But if you're
in Camp Pete,
then yes, maybe it's time for the much talked about Bags of Action Civil War, shamelessly stolen from Marvel. Maybe this is the end of this. So this is our last episode. Thank you for listening.
But in the meantime, if you have seen Dragon Blade, you've now listened to us talk about it, and if you would now suddenly decide, you know what, I really want to go out and see that film. It's on Netflix, as we said. Go and watch it, and then let us know what you thought of it.
With Old Misery Guts with 1 bag, or with King of the Positives with 3.
So, yes, come on to Facebook. There's a group there for Bags of Action. We're on Twitter at Bags of Action. You can email us, bagsofaction@gmail.com. And if you can leave us an iTunes review, that would be great. All right, so that's it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to Bags of Action. No bullshit. You'd better stick around for the next episode, because if you're lying, I'll be back.